I'm a Canadian by birth. Eventually, I became an American, and probably in part because I wanted to make up on my lack of knowledge, I've read a fair bit of American history. I think I could tell you quite a lot about American history. I could tell the story in quite a lot of different ways. For example, I could begin with the great heroism of the Pilgrim Fathers, escaping from a land of tyranny in order to have freedom of religion, bringing with them their Bibles and their deep commitment to confessional theology. And they carve a sanctuary out of the wilderness, and despite losses in the first 2 years of about a third of their small number, nevertheless they go on, and eventually this land is formed into 13 colonies on the eastern seaboard with an enormous Christian heritage built into many of the communities. And in due course, the tyranny of Great Britain, taxation without representation led to the American Revolution, and with it such amazing documents as the Constitution itself or the Declaration of Independence. One nation under God. Of course, there were horrible miscues and misperceptions, but the racism that was part of the culture was confronted nobly and at great sacrifice by the Civil War. And in God's mercy, God did raise up men like Jonathan Edwards, who brought what we now call in this country the Great Awakening. It's called the Evangelical Awakening in Britain. And with more awakenings under Dwight and others in the 1800s. And in due course, God made this land a land of shining commitment to democracy and liberty around the world. How am I doing? Now let me tell you the same story. God permitted the Pilgrim Fathers to come here, but they brought with them smallpox and other diseases. And of course, those diseases ravaged the native population that was already here. And while the whites from Europe were carving out their nation in the wilderness, they were slaughtering the red Indians right across the nation. And of course, there was lots of bloody warfare both ways. And when they did eventually form their nation and their constitution and so on, yes, well, it was pretty wonderful on the one hand. It was also a bit two-faced, treating the blacks like two-thirds of humans. And in due course, it caused the bloodiest war that we've ever had, the Civil War. And that didn't end it, after all. After that came all the Jim Crow laws and all the rest of the things that were so ugly that have really only been confronted, good grief, 3 centuries later. Confronted in the civil rights movement and that sort of thing. And still, there are many sorts of inequities. And meanwhile, are we so righteous and lily pure on this front or that front? And I go on and on and on. Do you see? Same facts, folks. Have I told the truth both times? Believe me, I could do the same thing for Canadian history, or British history, or Chinese history. Because the fact of the matter is, human history is so shaded. There are high points, there are low points. There's glory, there's shame,